And once we've got our internal JavaScript, we might think that we're done and we just need to learn JavaScript syntax. So start typing away. However, there is an issue. And the issue is following where what if we would have another page? For example, about page. Imagine scenario, your boss, the customer, or whoever comes to you and he or she says, you know what? Can you please make another page, similar page to this one with the same buttons and all of that and have the same functionality? So how we can achieve that? Well, we would start by creating a separate page. So where I have the index HTML, I'm going to create about HTML. So about HTML, this is going to be my about page. Now I do need to have the HTML structure. So we already know that I just need to shoot for the exclamation point and Emmet will do all the work. And in here, I'm going to change this from document to about page. Now, don't worry, we'll delete it in next video anyway. And then in the body, I'm just going to have a link first back to index.html because I would want to compare the pages. And here, I'm just going to say home. And then I'm just going to copy and paste all the buttons just to speed up the process. And you know what? I think I'm also going to grab that heading 4 and just say about page. So let's write over here explicitly about page so we know where we're at. And then in the index, I'm going to also add the link. However, in this case, the link, of course, will point to a about page. So we're going to go with about. And then in here, let's say about HTML. That is, of course, my link. And I'm also going to change the hello world. And I'm going to say home page. Let's add that one. Great. We have the about page. Now, of course, once I navigate to about page, I have the buttons. But as I'm clicking on the buttons, nothing is happening. Why nothing is happening? Because with internal JavaScript, we're only affecting this page. That's it. So as you can see in the about HTML, I don't have the strip tags. So I'm not selecting the buttons. I'm not adding functionality or anything like that. Now, you would think, well, it's very simple. We can just take the script tags, copy, and paste over here, correct? And yes, technically you would be correct. However, again, the problem would be, what if we change this text from this is good to hello world? Now, do you think it's going to be affecting both pages if I change this internally in the about page? So, of course, as I click on a button in the about page, I do have the hello world. But if I navigate back to a home page, well, I have this is good. So even though this is a better setup than the inline one, where we hop from element to an element, as you can see, as you're going to be adding more pages, again, you're going to have to hop from page to page. And also keep in mind that as you're looking at the page, don't you think that as you keep on adding JavaScript, and keep in mind, this is just a very basic setup, eventually you're going to have a project with 1,000 lines of code or 10,000 lines of code. As you keep on adding this code in the page, well, it's just going to get messy really, really fast. So what is a better solution? Well, a better solution, just like in CSS scenario where we have the inline CSS, we have internal one, and we have also external one. So the same works with JavaScript, where, let me open up the sidebar, and now I'm going to create a new file. Now we can call this file burrito, banana, Bobby Lee, JavaScript is the best, or whatever, as long as we add the extension. And if you check it out, you can see that for the HTML files, of course, we added this HTML. And if you work with CSS, you know that all the CSS files require this CSS extension. So we can probably already put 2 and 2 together that if we're working with JavaScript, we probably need some kind of extension. Again, we can name our file however we would like, but we need to have the extension. And the extension is as straightforward as it gets. It is a JS. So I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to say app and then .js. And as you can see, I right away have the suggestion that this is going to be a JavaScript file. And once I have my file, I'm going to zoom out And then I'm just going to grab the code from the about HTML. Now, you don't need to grab the script tags. You can leave them alone. We'll have to reference the file. So leave the script tags in the index.html or about HTML. However, take the code out. So I'll take the code. So I'll cut it out and then copy and paste in my app.js. And now, of course, like I said, I would just need to reference it. So I head back to about HTML. I have my script tags. And as a side note, the tricky thing is when you work with script tags, even though we're just going to have a reference, you still need to have a closing tag. So don't do something like this, where in index.html, of course, we have some tags where we can just self-close them. For example, image, even though there's going to be nothing in between these script tags, you need to have this closing bracket as well. So I'm going to go with script, and now we need to reference it. And this is the case where, again, we can directly go for a file, for example, app.js, but then we need to keep in mind that, for example, if there would be, I don't know, a folder, JavaScript folder, and if I would place that app.js in that folder, of course, as I'm referencing, now I need to use the relative path. This is the reason why I right away will set up with a relative path where I'm going to go with source. So that's the attribute we're looking for. And like I said, we could do it like this, app.js, but then as you're progressing with JavaScript and you go to React and all that good stuff, you'll have to start using relative path anyway. And for example, Node and all that. So we might as well start practicing that, where with a relative path, if the file is in the same folder, so in our case, of course, app.js is in the same folder, I can go with one dot and then /. And then this is going to give me a proper path to the file. So this is going to be app.js. Now, if the file is going to be, for example, in the JS folder, then of course we need to do it this way, where I'm going for JS folder. So that is still within the same folder, app.js folder, and then some kind of file name. So in here, I don't know, I could create an example JS. Again, it's going to be nothing in there, but I'm just showing you how we can reference it. So we have JS folder, and then I have the example JS. Now, there's also going to be the cases where that file might be, I don't know, 2 levels up. So in that case, of course, you would do it this way, where the relative path is not going to point to this folder. You're going to have to leave this folder and then say whatever folder you're looking for. So again, in our case, we don't have that scenario because, well, tutorial is pretty much our root. But then imagine that if you would want to reference something from within the folder, you would need to leave it. Again, if you need to brush up on relative path, please do so. This is something that I already covered in my HTML and CSS course. So this is just a quick reminder how we can work with relative path. So back to our file, we have one dot and then we have app.js. So of course, that is the file that I'm looking for. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to do the same thing in my index.html, just so you can see that once I have my code in my app.js, I can reference both files. And then that way, it doesn't matter how many pages I have, as long as I have proper reference, everything is going to work. So I'm just going to overwrite whatever I have currently in the index.html with my path to the app.js. And now you're going to see that once you click, you'll have, this is good. Okay. That's not what I wanted though. So probably it would make sense if we would refresh the page or something like that, correct? So let's save that. We have our about HTML and all that is good. So let me just refresh the page here. We have index. And now once I click, of course, I have the hello world like so. So once I added my file and all that, then regardless of how many pages I have, as long as I have a reference to my file, I can set up my logic in one place. Now let me close the example.js. I do not need that. However, in the app.js, if I would change my mind and if I would want to display hello people, I could just go with hello people. And now, of course, in my homepage, once I click on a button, now I have the hello people. Again, we have inline JavaScript, we have internal one, as well as the external JavaScript. And all throughout the course, I'm going to use external JavaScript because that way we can set up our code in one place and we can use it wherever we would like.